everyone. Welcome to my very thoughtful world. Listen, you guys know that for the entire month of June, I have been celebrating men because it's Father's Day month, but it's also the month of our anniversary. And I would dare not end this month without bringing on my favorite dad. He's not my dad, but my children's dad, as well as my husband of over 26 years. This year we celebrated in 30 years of being together. So everybody welcome my husband, Mr. Andre Berry. Thank you, babe, for being a
Hello.
guest on my show. So tell everybody about you. What do you
Okay,
do?
let me see. My story begins in a phase of life where I started working with children as a teenager. So once I started doing that, it gave me this insight and this desire to always work with children. So I started teaching. Started 30 years ago. I started off working my way up through being an assistant, through being a tutor in certain organizations, and then being blessed with opportunity to teach at a couple of charter schools in Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Uh, it just so happens that I started getting opportunities at other schools, getting my own classrooms, then having the chance to go abroad, which was an outstanding experience that I believe my family enjoyed, depending on who you ask. Uh, I taught in the UAE in a little town called Elaine, which is about an hour from Dubai and 15 minutes from Abu Dhabi. Stayed there for a few years. It was interesting to say the least. It was a great experience, though. It gave us the first opportunity to experience international lifestyle, which I can honestly say my lovely wife got really used to. So, when getting her used to it was the thing that I just wanted to keep providing. Uh, After a few years in that area, we decided, or I decided, if you listen to my children and my wife, to pack up and go to another country. So we went to China. We stayed in Beijing for about 7 years. The pandemic unfortunately brought us back, but I think when my wife and I talk about it, we were going to come back, but I didn't know if we were going to stay. But Beijing was a great experience for me professionally, for my son. Definitely that superpower he has of being a leader and identifying the fact that he has so much charisma and style in him. Our daughter, she had her ups and downs, but it wasn't for everybody. It definitely helped my career. So that being said, it was time to move on and came back to good old USA, and we live in Rocky Mount now. We lived in Raleigh, we lived in Durham, Kenesha and I lived in Greensboro, so we've been all over pretty much North Carolina, you know. Uh,
What's the
but
biggest difference?
I'm
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
please, yeah,
I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna okay. I was just and there's the video's acting a little strange too.
Yeah.
Um, what's the biggest difference that you would say you had or you see in the education system in the three different countries you worked in?
Okay, so to be fair, in the UAE, it was different because we weren't in totally international schools, though we were having an international lifestyle. I had the opportunity to visit some of the international schools in the area, but never to teach in those schools. So, working for the Ministry of Education in Abu Dhabi, the children that I encountered, not all, but that I encountered, weren't really focused on learning. They were just kind of said, well, my parents say I need to go to school, and if I don't go to school, then whatever inheritance I'm supposed to get, I might not get. Little things like that. Uh, I had friends that worked in high school, and their students wanted to go off to college. They met some of the friends that Kenesha and I had the opportunity to meet were really driven because they met teachers that inspired them to want more. So they were driven to do more. So that international experience just showed us that there was something different that education brought. But it did give me some opportunity to learn some things. And so I took those opportunities and took it to China, which I still had to learn a lot of opportunities. The first school in China was good, but it hadn't had all the establishment of some of the well-known schools in Beijing. So the first school was Biba, and it again gave me some insight on some things. They were developing new ideas to teach the children, so it gave me chances to help implement new curriculums and understand how curriculums operate. And so that helped. The last school that we attended and worked at was BCIS. Now, that was a full-blown IB school, World IB school. They had all three components: PYP, MYP, DP.
That doesn't mean anything to people who are not in the education system.
Right. So PYP was the primary years program. MYP is the middle years program, and DP is the diploma program. And our children had the opportunity to do the MYP and the DP program, which is almost like the AP courses that students take here in the States, but I think it's a little more rigorous. But the difference in the education is, especially in the DP, it allows children to develop a mindset where there's really no such thing as a wrong answer. It's just, how do you develop an answer? How do you research? How do you prove your findings to be accurate and true? And that's different because here in the States, in some schools, because of many different factors, some of it being testing, some of it being lack of funding, some of it being teachers not being highly qualified, that children are kind of robotic and they're not encouraged to take risk. And that's one of the learning profiles for the IB program, is being a risk taker and being a critical thinker and problem solving, to name a few. And so a lot of the children here aren't encouraged to do that, because that means you kind of have to be willing to debate with teachers. And unfortunately, here in the US, sometimes teachers don't want to be debated with. You know,
Let
it's
me
a
ask
power.
you a question. Oh, I'm
Sure.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
If you could create, like, after the 3 experiences you've had working in 3 different countries, if you could create like the perfect school, or what would be the things that you would blend from the 3 different schools to make what you think the most effective kind of school?
So I would definitely take some of the experience that teachers get here in the States. There's a high level of teachers here that get some good training, some good professional development, and proper training as far as how they're developing the teachers when they go to university or college that has a teacher education program. That's the one component I would take, because that program is so different than what the actuality of being in the classroom is. And the program shows you all the little positive inputs or positive displays to what education is like. You don't really understand how deep the education system is once you get into the classroom, and you say, oh my God, I got to wear 5 hats. I thought I only had to wear 2. So I would definitely do the training component, because teachers here in the US, they do get some really good training in their early years of education. In the Middle East, I would take the weather. Some people might say, what did that have to do with learning? Well, when children are comfortable in the classroom and teachers are comfortable, and you don't have to worry about heat in the winter or AC in the summer, because they make sure those units don't never break down in the Middle East. And I will also take the fact that in the Middle East offers an expenditure of funds. There's no limit on how much money they're going to spend to make sure the children have the best of everything. So I would take the financial support of the Middle East and the climate of the environment. I would take the education development of the teachers. And from China, I would take the work ethic of the students.
Wow.
The students have a mindset that they have to go to school, and a lot of it's pressure, but at the same time, a lot of it is a lot of family pride. In the Middle East and in China, it's all about the family name and saving face. So children don't want to go into an environment and disrupt the classroom, so to speak, or disrespect the teacher. Like in China, it's there's a level of a hierarchy in China. So it's like you can't talk bad about the president, right? That's the hierarchy. That's the highest level. Then it's your parents. Your parents are totally respected, and you live to basically take care of your parents when you become an adult. That's what some of the experiences I've seen. And then the third tier of the hierarchy of teachers. Teachers in China are so highly respected because I think there's an understanding that you can't gain any knowledge not unless you're getting taught that knowledge from someone who has the knowledge already, and that would be the teacher. I want to throw something out. If I had to say something I wouldn't take from each country, it would be the lack of educational respect of some students in the Middle East. They just think that education is not important. I would say the overabundance of interference from parents in China. Sometimes they can make or break a teacher's career. And then from U.S. children, I would say, unfortunately, there's a level of disrespect that is developed. And some of it's developed from their parents having their traumatic moments with teachers, and some of it is this teachers living in this old school mentality, which ends up having children disrespect them because of the way they feel they're being treated by teachers. So positives from all three cultures, and there's a lot of negatives in cultures. But what I found that education can do is when you allow young people to really think outside of the box and understand that learning is all about constantly doing research and proving your research to be factual, then children are delighted with that. They're coming running to you like, this is what I discovered, or this is what happened, or hey, it didn't work, but this is why it didn't work. And so instead of feeling defeated why it didn't work, they get excited because they get to try again. And then we grade them on their ability to want to constantly figure out how to make this thought or this idea or this lesson become a factual thing or reality or true. And that's what learning should be like. So it's an enjoyable factor. It's enjoyable to be involved in all different aspects of teaching, and then figuring out what can we do to bring, as you asked in your question, all three together, because there's something good about each component. And we bring it together, you'll get your ideal school.
All right, well that's awesome. So we know that you're an educator, and we know that you've lived around the world. What are some things that people don't know about Andre that you think like the person who's listening to the podcast can benefit from knowing?
Oh, okay. So benefit from knowing. So when you first asked the question, I was thinking, well, I learned this new term. I don't know how accurate it is, like an extra introvert, which means kind of like you seem like you're not an introvert because you seem like you have a lot of personality, but in actuality, that's kind of like a facade because you're really an introvert, and that's your way of making yourself feel comfortable. You have a litmus. You have a level of how much comfort you can display before you have to kind of pull back and crawl into your shell. And so that's who I am. And it actually helps a little bit being that way because it allows me to be truly authentic in who I am as a person. It allows people to see that, this dude's really caring, right? Because I don't need the spotlight all the time. I'm very, I guess, humble's the word. I don't need a lot of accolades and praise for doing something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping young people grow. I enjoy taking care of our children, and I enjoy taking care of you and all that good stuff. And so I do it just because, right? And that's what I think if someone didn't know about me, I don't do the things that I do searching for a pat on the back. I do it because it kind of fills my joy cup, right? To watch people that I'm around feeling good. And maybe it's because of something I did. Like, for instance, I had a young lady who was struggling with another teacher. And so she came to my office and was just feeling defeated. And I just said, look, you'll be the bigger person. I know you're the teenager, but we tell you all fast, and sometimes this is what growing up fast look like. It doesn't mean you have to be a parent or co-parent with your parents raising a little sibling. It just means sometimes being mature mentally and saying, you know what, I don't have to get into this argument with you because I'm going to lose anyway because I'm the child and you're the adult. So if I just go ahead and simmer it down and be quiet, then I can move on. So when I can give young people that kind of advice and they use it, then it feels good, right? I feel like I've done my job, right? So that's what people think when they get to know me, or they didn't know anything about me. They realize I don't need accolades. I really like being by myself.
So, Mr. Beer, we're learning a lot about you, and we know that you love education. But oftentimes on my show, I invite people who are entrepreneurs. I don't know if people know that you have a business. Tell them about your business.
Sure. So some years ago, when I first started in education, working in Durham, I met this young lady. She was a fifth grader. She struggled with her reading and just taking standardized tests. And this is during the beginning stages of the ELG, a test that North Carolina gives students to see their proficiency with their learning. So I met the young lady, and the teacher would just kind of be kind of short with her, like she was being lazy or something along those lines. And so I just figured, you know what, I'm going to help her. So I started working with her. I met her grandmother. Her grandmother was like, well, Mr. Berry, I can really pay you a lot. And I was like, that's fine. That's okay, because my heart had it to where I wanted to reach out and help this young lady. So that's where I started tutoring her. And then, how children do, she had this little friend, and her name was Ashley. And she was like, can Ashley come? And I was like, sure. And the next thing you know, I went from 2 little girls to 9 students at this one particular school where I worked in Durham. And then we were blessed. I went to a job fair or something, and I met this young lady. Her name was Miss Eagleson. I know that much. And she said, hey, would you like to work at the school? And I said, sure. But then I have this business. We want to provide performance care for children and help them with the standardized testing stuff. And so it just so happened that charter schools were just starting to blow up in North Carolina. And so we reached out to a few other schools, and they didn't have after school care. So we said, hey, you have the building, I have the people. Let's collaborate and do business. And I know I didn't know a lot about business, right? But I knew how to tutor. I knew how to help children. So one of the things I learned to do was reach out to those people who knew how to make certain things work. So I hired an accountant, got someone to handle the logistics of the copyrights and things along those lines. Got some people that were good with education to work with me. A couple of young ladies that were just great with leadership. One young lady that you know named Regina, who I tried to keep forever, but she didn't want to stay. And that's how my business started. And then this started because of this passion for helping young people. And by helping these young people, I was able to create this nonprofit. And now I have a nonprofit, and I still want to reach out and help as many children as I can throughout the state and even nationally, providing services to young people, helping them learn. Because over the course of my career, what I've learned is there is other ways to reach children and help them reach their fullest potential. And you just have to be willing and daring enough to try something new. And I know early in my career overseas, that was a challenge. But once I learned that there's more than one way to skin a cat, I was skinning them cats. And so I enjoyed it. I enjoy helping young people. The business is still going strong.
What's the name of your business?
The business is called Genesis Tutorial Program. It's a tutoring and mentoring program where we work with young people developing test taking skills, study skills, help improve their reading ability and mathematics. Sometimes the mentoring component comes in. Many of the children that we serve are actually really intelligent children, but they just don't have an outlet and they don't know how to communicate their feelings. And even before this SEL thing became huge, one of the things I learned is that children just want somebody to listen to them. And so by doing that, I was able to build their confidence and help them develop into better learners. Many of the students that we worked with during the course of the time we were working in Durham were making grade level on that end of grade tests. And many people are asking, how do you do it? I'm like, just let the children be children and give them different strategies to develop and use. It's not reinventing the wheel, it's just doing something that we forgot to do. We've got to listen to these young people and let them tell us what they know and what they don't know, and then start using what they know to help them develop the things they didn't know. And it's old school teaching methods, but it's with a new school mindset. And I think that's the big thing.
So if someone wants to use your service, if they have a kid in school now, do they have to live?
If they want to use my service, do they have to do what?
Do they have to live in the area?
No. Because the pandemic has taught us so much. We can do things virtually. And so I do offer virtual sessions where we can tutor young people virtually. I'll do it and I like it. Do I prefer face-to-face? Yes, but we're living in a time where sometimes everything can't be face-to-face. So I have to adapt to the virtual process. And I've been able to reach a lot of students that way. You can still build relationships. It's a lot more challenging, but it can be done.
Well, as I said earlier, I like to really encourage entrepreneurs. What is something that you would want the person who may be watching this thinking, dang, I really want to start a business, but I'm worried, I'm scared, maybe I'm not good enough, I'm not ready. What would you tell them about starting a business?
To start a business, I believe personally, you have to find something that you're passionate about. So when you're passionate about something, you allow that something to be your driving force that makes you want to provide that service to an individual. For example, I did tutoring. You do coaching and you're passionate about it. Yeah. Our daughter, she likes to write. And in this day and time where writers are really needed more, because with all this live streaming TV, you always have all these different ideas. If you're a writer, start a writing service, provide a service. Secondly, I would always encourage individuals to utilize people that know things. You're not going to know everything about business, and that's what sometimes makes people stop with their business ideas or put that on the back burner because there's a part of it they don't understand. One of the things I did when I started my business, I knew nothing about keeping books. So I hired an accountant, and that might have been a large piece of the money that I was making. But look at all the money I saved by not breaking any laws, by paying the taxes, by making sure my employees got paid. So I wasn't just a typical mom and pop shop business. Everything was by the book. Yeah. And when something was not right, he'd let me know, man, you can't do that. You're gonna get in trouble. My name's tied to it, so we ain't gonna get it. You're not gonna do it right. I'm not gonna work with you. And so that's critical. So if you don't know anything, then say that and find someone that does. Lastly, when starting the business, you have to understand there's going to be ups and downs. Many people ask us in life, what is your 5-year plan? That's not just a life plan. That's a business plan. It's a business model. You're not going to make money all the time. So that's if your goal is to make money in year 1, year 2, you will struggle. You're going to have highs and lows when you have a business. There was times when we made a buttload of money, and then there was times when we didn't make money. There was times when people were giving us 5-figure contracts to go in and tutor children and get them ready for the test. Then there was times when people was like, I can't afford your services anymore because we're going through some type of crisis nationally with money. And so your tutoring service is going to be the first to get cut. And I was like, okay. However, be prepared for those highs and lows. Understand if what you're developing as your business model, your business plan is something that you're passionate about, I would offer you the notion that you will be successful in it. It's going to take some time. You're going to have some lumps. You're going to have some bumps. You're going to have some discouraging moments. You're going to have some moments where your better half, whether it's your wife or your husband, is going to be thinking, what are you doing with all your time? And you got to say, hey, I'm out here in these streets trying to make this thing happen. And when the money starts rolling in, or people bump into you in the streets, especially in my service that I provide, I will bump into people in the streets and they go, that's Mr. Berry, that's Mr. Berry. And sometimes you will be sitting there, my wife would be like, how do you know those people? That's a client over there, that's a client over there. You go, oh, so you really out there beating them streets. I'm like, yeah, because when it's your business and it's your baby, like if this is your real child, you're going to take care of that thing. And you remember, lastly, I said 3 things, but there's a 4th thing is your business is your name. And your name is all you have. And if you're going to be someone that's out there trying to sham people, you're going to mess up not only your business, but you're going to mess up your name. So just be mindful about what you're putting out in the universe, because it will come back and bite you in the tail if you're doing something that's really shady. So make sure your business is upfront, it's legit, and that it's something that you want to be able to have people identify you with. Because when people identify my business with me, they understand that I'm out here providing a service.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being my guest. Guys, I think this month has been a great month of podcasts. I've enjoyed getting to know more men, talking to them about their business and their passions. And I hope that you've had a wonderful June as much as we have. And thank you again for watching and tuning in. Thank you, Dre, for being my guest tonight.
Thank you for having me,
You're
my
welcome.
dear.
So you guys have a great night.